My school clock's about a minute fast. I think I muted it on the third ring.
I like that. I like the sound of it, Commissioner.
Okay, I have 10 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting of the Finance Administration Committee to order. I'm Tobin Hope. I'm attending remotely from my home in the city of Mount Pleasant, Isabella County.
I am Jerry Jalazinski, attending remotely from my home in Chippewa Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
And I'm Jim Horton. I'm attending from my home in Union Township, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
Okay, item number 3 is call to the public. Nicole, do we have anyone on the line?
We do not have anyone for public comment at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 4 then is consider accepting and placing on file the 15th, 2021 routine personnel items as presented. I didn't have any questions on this. It's why we call it routine personnel items, I guess. It's pretty routine. Yeah, Commissioner Harden.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any problems with this list. I'd like to discuss this list in general. I think you and I have talked about this, and Jerry, you and I may have mentioned it at one time or two. I can't remember, but I know Tobin, you and I have talked about the purpose of this list, having it and seeing it and discussing it. Given the nature of our society today, some of the issues, or not some of the employees mentioned, positions mentioned, departments mentioned, there could be some, for lack of not secrecy, but lack of a better term, things that are contained in there that might be of a private nature or of a concerning nature. So I would like to see this board possibly, instead of going a list like this, go to something that Tobin, I think you termed a great term, a hire and retire list. New hires and then retires. I think anything in between, while I think each individual commissioner could ask that and get some personal knowledge if they want to do that. I think putting this out there could lead to more problems than what it's worth. I'm not going to go into it now, some of the things on this list or other lists in the past or present or future. But I think there could be a significant problem down the road. And again, I'd like to be informed, but especially on new hires and retires, kind of like a welcome to and thank you for your service type situations. But as far as having an overall list, I think could possibly be opening ourselves up down the road for future issues. So I would like to see this board, possibly, Margaret, I don't know how we go about doing that. I'd like to see this board possibly not get a complete list like this every time, but maybe look at a hire and retire list. That's just my thought.
So the chairman and I had discussed my concerns, and I brought it to the committee a number of weeks back, and Commissioner Hope wasn't able to be with us, so we tabled it. I do have something to show you, an option maybe. Nicole, could you share this the form? I put together a draft for us to look at. I do think it's much more of an announcement of who our new hires are. So it would be a new hires and retirement list, and it would be new hires first, and the name and the date and the department or office that they are in. And then retirements, same type of information. I would be happy to have this prepared with every payroll, which is pretty much how, or for every meeting or whatever, which is pretty much how the routine personnel is now. And I would be happy to send that out to all the commissioners via email. I think that gets you the pertinent information. Other information that's on the current form is just, I believe it's too much information in today's professional opinion about human resource information and what is in the public realm. And I think it elicits questions and discussions that are just, I'm not comfortable providing those answers in a public setting. And as far as, a step increase or those types of things, that's just in your, that's in your classification and compensation plan. you know, if we were going to vary from that, our policy is that we would come forward to the Board of Commissioners. And we've done that in the past. Some elected officials and department heads and myself have come forward about starting somebody someplace other than start. So, you know, if you have Fred Jones, and Fred Jones is a level 6, Fred Jones is going to go from a level 6 start to a 1 year, to a 2 year, to a 3 year. That's just routine activities. And if the board really, as the chairman said, would like to know, you know, new hires and retirements. So if you see people in the grocery store, or you have a constituent that's retired and you want to send them an email or a card or whatever, I think this gets you the information to do that without putting us in any situation of liabilities as an employer.
Margaret, if I
Yes,
could
sir.
add one thing, I do like the look of this. The only thing I'd like to see added possibly under the retirements would be the length of time that they serve the county.
That's a good
I think-
idea.
I think that would be very beneficial. You know, somebody that is put in, I mean, look at Michelle Ray, for instance. Michelle's been with the county, I don't know, a long time.
Yes.
And I think that's, if, hopefully she never retires, but that day will probably come. And if she does, I think it'd be nice to see the length of time that she's put into our county and how she's helped our county out. So that's kind of what I'd like to see, but I like this. It's a simplistic yet informative information. So I like it with the addition that I talked about, but I don't know if the other commissioners, Jerry or Tobin, if you guys, I'm sorry, I'm not leading this. Tobin, you're leading this. I'm sorry.
That's all
Go
right.
back to Tobin. Tab Batch.
That's all right.
So-
Just one question, Margaret. So you're suggesting that we receive this information through email and there's no public announcement of it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's part of my concern, is that the current one is out. It's part of the packet, so therefore it's on the website and it's available. And I think it leads to conclusions or comments from people out in the world that are just not necessary.
Yeah, Jerry?
I like the new form too. There's one thing I'd ask maybe is, I do look at the resignations. And I look at it with an eye to see, you know, are some departments consistent or consistently having resignations? Is there a problem? I'd like to see that added without the person's name. Maybe after retirement's resignation, and then, you know, the name of the department and the position. You know, people leave for different reasons, and, you know, I think that should be private, but I do like the information that particular action provides.
I don't know if, Margaret, do they do an exit interview when somebody leaves, or?
We, you know, I mean, if someone resigns, resignations happen for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes resignations are negotiated departures between myself and the employee, or the elected official and the employee, for a variety of reasons and situations. So if you were to look at, you know, if we were to add resignations, I mean, we certainly can do that if that's what the board wants. But again, I think that if you look at a department and you think, oh, gee, they've had, I don't know, but pretend it's a big department. We'll pretend it's a big department, and they have 35 people. Gee, they've had 4 resignations this year. Well, somebody could look at that and go, oh, there's a problem. Why are people leaving? Or, you know, people leave for all varieties of reasons, and people leave for family reasons. People leave for employment reasons. People leave because their spouse has been relocated. You know, people leave because they're going to take care of their mom. All sorts of things. And sometimes people resign because the situation is not working out, and in a negotiated agreement, we offer them the opportunity to resign. So, you know, if you want to have a list of who's resigned, I think that you have to understand, and, you know, I'll do whatever the board wants with that. But I do think you have to understand that there are all sorts of reasons for resignation. And those reasons are something that I also think should not be shared.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's sensitive information. I don't know if we need to list in a public meeting the names of people that have resigned or the names of people that receive a step increase according to their contract.
Mhm.
I just, I'm on the Human Resources Committee for Community Mental Health, and they look at the numbers without the names, just analyze, we had this many retirements, this many resignations. If we
Sure.
did anything, I wouldn't mind seeing it that way if we did anything along those lines. But otherwise, I'm uncomfortable listing the names of people that resign and listing the names of people that get or receive a step increase. And I see Commissioner Jelzinski has his hand up. So go ahead.
Yeah,
Sure.
my understanding is that this is not going to be posted online. It's going to be sent by email to the individual commissioners. And I in my earlier comments, I didn't ask for the names. All I'm asking for is resignation, the title, and the department, and the position. And, I know various departments of various sizes. I can know that information internally. And, I'm not going to make any rash decisions if I see resignation, but if I see a consistent position or, I may question that. But as long as this is going on to us emails and we're not listing the name of the resignation, just the department and the title, I don't that, and I find it as useful information.
I agree with that. Commissioner Horton.
Yeah, I guess I would circle back to the new hires and retirements. I personally would like to see that announced. Maybe that's just me. But I think that brings a certain type of, I don't even want to know what I'm lost.
It's a chance to congratulate those folks.
Right. And I think that's what I'd like to see internally. If we get this new hire and retirement, and we add the other stuff, as long as we're not being specific, I don't see too much of an issue right now. But again, as far as what I'm seeing right here on my screen right now, that's what I'd like to be able to announce and make it public. Again, if we put it to emails to the commissioners, yes, it is still public. But I think to get to Jerry's point, if he wants to see that, he can see, I said something I probably would not look at overall, but I might, and it might be nice to have that opportunity too. So I can see all that point of view. And I think it's a much better thing to go than what we're doing now. I think like I said, right now, I think by doing what we're doing, I believe that we're leaving ourselves one day for possible issue down the road.
Yeah.
So I think we try this or at least adjust it. We can, obviously the three of us can't make any decisions, but I think we can. I guess I don't know if it takes board action to do that, but I think if we're going to do that, I think maybe we bring that out to the rest of the commissioners just to get their input. But I like this idea of announcing the new hires and retires and also being informative on a different level to the commissioners as they see fit. Because again, I'm 1 of 7, Jerry's 1 of 7, Tobin, you're 1 of 7. And we all have our little things that we like and dislike. And I know I'm not the easiest person to please, as Margaret will tell all of you.
I would not say.
I like the ideas that we've come up with and talked about. I think they're all good ideas and good suggestions. So Margaret, if we can, maybe we can bring this forward to I shouldn't say it like that, but Tobin, I'd like to see this brought forward possibly to our business session. And then if we could I know we got to do that in a motion, obviously. Well, actually don't. Margaret, how would we do that? Because it's not really in a motion or consider of. How would we do that? Could we bring that forward under this, or how would we do that?
Sure, we could. So I just kind of want to make sure I understand what direction you want me to go in. So do you want me to remark this up with something about resignations or not? Do you want it just to remain new hires and retirements, or do you want me to add the length of service? Obviously, we'll add the length of service to retirements. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I would like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I would, Tobin and Jerry, please chime in. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. I would like to see for lack of a better term, 2 reports. I guess maybe that's not what well, I like to see 2 reports. A new hire and retire being not all inclusive, but the resignations, the department, that sort of thing, like Jerry mentioned, as one report. And then when we present it to the public, we just put out the new hire and retire. So it's kind of like a 2 report system, or 1 report, but only half of it's released, I guess. That's
So I have an idea. I have an idea.
okay, good.
I could redo the mock-up. We could redo the mock-up. We could add the resignations with title and department, which is what you said, Commissioner Jablonski. Did I miss something?
Correct. Department and title.
Yep. And then I would not publicly release this in some other form. What we could do, I could incorporate an announcement of the new hires and retirements in my administrative controller report that I give once a month. I could read those in the meeting. I could say, we have 3 new hires this month. We have Jane Doe at Commission on Aging. We have Fred Smith at the courts, and we have Mary Jones at the treasurer's office. And then retirements, I could say we had a retirement. Well, I'm not going to say Michelle Rakes. I don't want to put that out in the atmosphere. It was, we had a retirement, Tom Smith retired after 30 years at the sheriff's office. And then it's getting announced, it's in the minutes, it's on TV, it's everywhere without uniform.
Without being, that way it's not an agenda item, and it gets,
Right.
I think it gets at where we want to go with this. I like the idea.
I'm good with that.
Now, how often would we receive this report? Would we receive the report weekly or weekly?
I think, excuse me, I'm sorry to step on what you were saying.
No,
I think
feel
that
free.
we could actually do it. We could do it. I'm trying to think. I think we do it now with the payrolls. So it's not weekly, it's with each payroll because that's when those things are enacted.
Mhm.
So when it would be the best time for my office to get that emailed out to you. I think that would be, that's pretty timely. And then every month in my report, I can read off the names of who's hired.
Should we put this on the work session for let the other commissioners chime in?
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever a Board of Commissioners decision to do this routine personnel items. I'm assuming that has been probably forever from previous administrators that thought that was a good idea, and maybe at the time it was. I do think that maybe the best thing to do, gentlemen, tell me what you think is best. I think the best thing to do is for us to remark this up, for us to do some type of a brief little staff report, and we can do it 2 things. We can forward it and say, this is the new thing we're going to do, or we can take it to the work session. I think it's a good idea to take it to the work session. So everybody kind of knows what we're talking about and what we're recommending. And I'm not sure that the form has to be approved by the Board of Commissioners, but I do think that the Board of Commissioners, all of them, should be informed that we're moving on to something else. If you would like to have a vote, I can certainly mock up a motion. So it's whatever the committee wants to do, I'm happy to do.
I don't know if we need to take a vote. I mean, I guess if one commissioner, I think they need to probably put the other 4 should have an input. I know the 3 of us had a nice little discussion here, had some good input. So I guess I would encourage that. I mean, we can take a format and say, hey, this is going to be the new format after they have their input. We'll go from there. Make it a work in progress. Like I said, but what we have now, I think leaves it way open to possible issues. So
Yeah.
so I think that's the route to go, Margaret. I think we're on the right track here. And
Okay.
we'll put it, I don't know if a formal motion, because I hate to do motions, and then it puts it into, hard to change things after that. So
Right.
I think
I
this
agree.
I think leaves us some room to grow and improve and change if we want to do something. So that's what I would be.
Yeah, I think that when excuse me, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tobin.
Oh, that's okay. I agree with what Commissioner Horton's saying there. Commissioner Jablonski.
I agree too. And are we going to start by eliminating the current report then?
No, well, I think we should maybe, here's the issue. I was thinking that we should start this once we inform the Board of Commissioners, this is what we've agreed to amongst the finance committee, administration, and whatever. I think that, yeah, I'd like to not take this report forward, but it's already, it's already forward at this point because it's in the packet. So I think that we ought to act on it and then have the discussion about this is the recommended new format.
That
I'm
makes
happy to
sense.
do whatever the committee thinks. If you think we don't have to take the old one forward, that would be happy. But if we, we haven't had time to tell everybody what the new format's going to be. So whatever you feel that you would like me to do about that. I just want to tell you, I'm very thankful that this committee is supporting this recommendation. I just think that we are, it's just time. This is not, the current format is not how human relations situations are reported any longer.
I think if we have this discussion at the work session, I don't like to speak for the other commissioners. I doubt they're going to say, hey, where's the old format? I need to see that.
Good point.
And if this is a good illustration of what we're talking about, this has got several resignations on it. And if are the things we don't want to publicly put out there, it's public knowledge, people can gain that, but do we need to make an announcement out of it?
Right.
Maybe we should stop right with this one.
Okay.
What do you
Gary,
guys?
I'd be in favor of that.
Thank you.
I would be in favor of that the situation would be the other commissioners, but if they want to bring out the other ones, I mean, they've got the list. But I mean, yeah, I would. Jerry, what's your thoughts on that too? I think I'm in favor of what Tobin. I agree with you. If we're going to do it, we've got something on there right now that's a problem. I won't go anything further than that. But yeah, I would
I would say
I would be in
to
favor of
start, and their commissioners already have this, so they'll have that in their background and just not proceed with it from this date forward. And we can all speak to the reasons why we're making the change.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your support of the recommendation. I'm very, very, very relieved and happy. So what I will do, when I say I will do it, I mean, Jessica will actually do it. When I say I will redo this and do the new mock-up, let's be honest, Jessica will do that. She's fabulous at this. But we will work on a new mock-up that will include the length of service for retirements and also a section that has, so we're going to do the resign department and title. Are we doing that? Is that what the committee wants? So you're going to
I
have
would
new
like that.
hires, retirements, and resignations.
Yes, I think that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we will get this to you soon. I'll talk to Jess afterwards, after the meeting today. But I think that we'd be able to get you this, a new mock-up out today or tomorrow. We'll send that to this committee, look at it, see what it looks like, see what you think, and get back with me if you have any issues. And other than that, we'll start using it at the next meeting. Thank you so much.
That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Commissioner Horton or General Zinski, do you have anything else on
I do
this?
not.
Okay. Before we move on. All right. Very good. Good discussion. Number 5, then moving on.
Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Chairman Ho, do
Yep.
we need to, I don't know how we're going to do that. It's just consider. So, we're not going to consider. So we're going to not consider that then.
Right, we're not going to take it as a motion.
So
No,
we're
we're
going to
just
table
taking it
this. We're going to,
Form.
correct. Right. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to
No
interrupt, Tobin. I apologize.
That's all right. No problem. Item number 5, consider approving fiscal year 2021 budget amendment in the amount of $1,967,074.14 to cover additional expenses for the Isabella County Sheriff's Office and Correctional Facility Project, the county's liability insurance retention fund, and the county's drain at large assessment, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. So, Margaret, do you want to go with this?
Well, yes, my best advice before we start the discussion is to look at the bottom of page 2 that says of this amount, 1 million in bold, of this amount, $1,819,796 will be reimbursed once we have the bonds for the jail. You know, we had originally thought that we would already be in a position by this time to have the bonds and move forward with that. That hasn't happened because we kind of changed plans, which was a great decision. So we still have some costs coming in, obviously, and we need to pay those. I want you to know that when this project started, actually before the project started, a couple of years ago, I directed my staff to designate a line item that was the jail project. That line item is in the administrator's budget, but it is not lost amongst all sorts of other things. It's very clear that that line item is this project. And anything can be traced back forever through that line item. You know, it's one of the frustrations that I have had as the administrator controller is that there were other large building projects that I don't really know where the historical data is there. We've been unable to locate it. So we want to make sure that's not happening. So financially, every penny is traceable. Also, just so you know, project-wise, Jessica is what I refer to as the official repository in the administrator controller's office. So anything that comes in that is of a nature that Margaret shouldn't have red pen and stickies all over, I might make a copy and do that. But all the official things are kept in the office electronically and paper. So we have a very extensive file going on the jail project. So I just want the commissioners to understand that this amount of expenditure certainly is a huge amount for the county, but it's my responsibility as administrator controller to make sure that that's done appropriately. And I want you to know that we will be able to trace those into the future. So basically, once we sell the bonds, which you know, we're still working on the property situation. Once that is finalized, we'll be ready to submit the USDA grant and move forward with the bonds, and these funds will be refunded. So I just want you to know that that portion of those funds will be refunded. As far as the what's required for us at MMRMA, we have had a number of lawsuits against the county, and when those lawsuits come in and we're served, they go immediately to MMRMA. They assign their legal people, and we move forward. But we're required to have a pool of retention based on what our potential liability is through MMRMA. So that's how come we need to put some more cash in that. And that again will come out of the administrator's office. That's one of our line items. And that's basically where we are. You know, the drain situation is the drain situation, obviously. And those costs that go out to the drain get then assessed out to everyone who's on the drain. So hopefully those funds will come back eventually too. We just don't want to be walking around with a line item deficits, obviously. You know, if you're $25 over, or you're $250 over, or you're over $1,000 in, I'm just making this up, office supplies, but you haven't spent a penny in travel, we move those around. I mean, I certainly have the authority to do that, but something this large needs to come to the Board of Commissioners. So I think the staff report, Nicole wrote the staff report. She did a great job. I think it has a lot of detail and information in it. That's my kind of 32-foot level explanation. So with that, I'm happy to open it to any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Jablonski.
I guess I have one question, one request, and one thing of information. On the question is the amount of the $1,819,796 for the jail project. Does that include the property purchase, anticipated property purchase?
No, we
So
haven't issued any checks or spent any. We haven't purchased property, so no, that's not included. It'll be.
So we'll have another budget amendment eventually to cover that if we move ahead with the purchase.
Yes.
Okay. I understand the fund with the MMRMA for lawsuits. I guess I'd like to request a report maybe before the board in a closed session. Just what are those lawsuits? I know being involved with Parks and Recreation over the years, fortunately, I was never involved with any of my employers with a lawsuit against the county parks, but I think it's good information just for us to know, just some general information about those lawsuits and what we may be able to do to support those departments that are maybe having issues. The final thing is on the drains at large assessment. I go to my township meetings and I know all the townships have a piece of the payment pie for drain projects. And you just mentioned that those assessments will eventually be allocated to the property owners and we'll get a recovery of those assessments.
Well, that's generally what happens. That's my assumption. I mean, we can ask the drain commissioner, or I can ask the drain commissioner to be on the meeting next Tuesday. I don't really want to speak for him, but that's my understanding. I could be wrong.
Or you could just get the information for me.
I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. I'll find out, sir.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that county level could be assessed for a drain, but obviously
Oh, yeah.
we are eligible. Everybody below the rank of God, probably.
I may have misspoke, Commissioner, that if it is a drain at large that's charged to the county, then no, that money will not come back to us. So perhaps I misspoke. Let me check into it.
Thank you. Those are my questions and comments. Thank you.
I like Commissioner Jazinski's suggestion of a closed session to talk about these lawsuits so we can be informed on those. Commissioner Horton, do you have anything?
I think one of the statements, you look at $1.967 million. There's a lot of money on a jail project so far that we've not got a shovel into the ground yet. But those are regardless if we even had a shovel in the ground, those would have had to be done. Architecturally, designing buildings. I think the sheriff, Jerry, you was at the meeting. Jerry could hear a lot better in our meeting last night than I could. Apparently I had a lot to say, but no one could hear it. So that's probably the best of everyone's world right there. I can still spout off and talk, and no one can hear me, which is great.
We were happy.
Yeah, there you go. I figured the crowd took a break for a bit when I spoke. Not quite as long as Outman. He can go on forever, but that's beside the point. But anyway, I lost my train of thought here. I mean, those are expenses that would have been incurred regardless of where we're at in the ground right now. And we all kind of knew, I'm getting ready to go down south. We understood this. We understood that there were going to be some upfront expenses. Margaret, where are we at as far as once we sign the purchase agreement? My understanding is that I'm not going to go too much into this, but we don't have to change we're already out for bond. We don't have to do anything. Where are we at with that bond situation? I guess that's the question. We put it out for publication.
Well, we have to wait.
God, sorry.
Okay, so it went out for the 45-day referendum.
Mhm.
We did not receive any comments, any issues, nothing at the county clerk's office, which is where members of the public would have addressed that. So it's fine. We've passed the 45-day referendum. We're good. It's an issue of, the USDA is going to want to know where the property is. So as soon as we get the property, we'll be ready to, I would say that grant is probably 75 or 80% completed, ready to go. We got to plug in the property.
Yeah.
And then
what is you've got experience at this, or you got certainly the knowledge among this board here. What is the anticipated amount of time from the time we approve this, or if we approve this budget amendment, to placing that $1.967 million? And plus
it's whenever we,
whatever we then buy for the property, what is the estimated amount of time from start to until we expect to see the bond revenues?
well, I don't have an answer for that because it will depend on, hopefully, who knows how long the USDA will take, hopefully,
Mhm.
hopefully to, that's our hope, that's our plan. I can't speak for them how long they will take. I have talked to other folks, particularly our financial advisor who, doesn't think it will be real long, but real long. Who knows what that means?
I'm not looking for like
What-
within hours or days, days, but is it going to be 2 months, 3 months? Is it going to be 21 days? Or A ballpark estimate.
I can talk with Mr. Treziak and ask what his experience is. I would rather find out what his experience is.
That's
I
exactly
have
right.
done, I haven't, pardon me?
Go ahead. That's perfect. Yep. Continue.
Yeah. So, you know, the project, I mean, I haven't built a $40 million building before. I've done other bonds. I've done other things. I've done other major renovations, millions of dollars worth, particularly to 2 courthouses in another county and the county building there. However, you know, this is a unique animal. So I can talk to Tom and find out what he knows about what he thinks the process will be. It will not be 21 days. I can tell you that. It will be longer than that. And then once we're approved and we sell the bonds, we can, you know, for lack of a better term, repay this pretty much immediately when we get the funds. So I think once the bonds are sold, then it can happen quickly. It's the issue between when we submit the USDA request grant and hopefully when they approve it, because we certainly don't want to sell those bonds. You know, we can't do that. That's the point with the USDA is the length of payment was attractive to the board. So I'll find out from Tom and send an email out to the 3 of you.
Right. And I think if you could just quickly, I think the 3 of us know, but just refresh me anyway. So I'll be the one that will say I need refreshing on this. Budget variance and why we don't want to do a budget variance.
Pardon me?
Why would we not want, what's bad about a budget variance? In regards, I think in your memo, you said if one of the choices were if we chose not to do this, let's see, where was it? I thought alternative and it reported budget variance in the 2021 audit. I think a budget variance would be overspending to get a budget variance. What is the harm of
Right.
that? What consequences to the county does that raise?
Well, the consequence to the county is this, that eventually you're going to have to put that money back from the USDA, from the bond sales. So I don't think that it is I'm going to turn to Steve here in about 2 seconds, Mr. CPA. In about 2 seconds, I know Steve has an opinion. So maybe
Interrupted Steve
ready.
there.
He's
Yeah.
ready to
Maybe-
jump in there, I can tell.
maybe before I misspeak, I'm just going to turn it over to I'm going to turn it to a professional CPA. Steve, could you answer that question? I'm
Yeah,
sure
and you probably can't see it, but my ears actually did perk up there. You know, I know they're covered by all this long flowing locks that I have, but
they are.
no, and really technically, like the staff report says, the budget variance. Technically, you're supposed to do the budget amendment. I mean, if you looked at the compiled law, to the letter of the compiled law, it says do the budget amendment, then spend the dollars. You know, and technically but that's the perfect world. And so the logical kind of the normal process is if you know you're going to expend those dollars, you're not in compliance with Michigan compiled law if you budget for $100 and you spend $101 technically, you know, and so conceptually this is, if you can get this budget amendment in place, then you won't have that budget variance like it says in the staff report, which keeps you in compliance with Michigan compiled law. I mean, so that's kind of the super high level technical term of it. And I just think it's good budget management too, to assure that you're, if you have these expenditures, that you modify the budget so you don't have those budget variances. It's definitely would be a comment in the audit. If it went to September 30, 2021, then it would be an audit comment too. But I think best practices budget amendment in place, and at this point in time, since you're going to expend those dollars.
Mhm. And therefore keep our audits clean without unnecessary comments.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Jelzinski.
Well, the last thing we would we wouldn't want to let happen that we get to the end of the budget year and we end in that deficit. That would not be good for us audit wise.
No.
And then, those get reported to Department of Treasury and then they send you an email saying, oh, here's a problem. And
Yeah.
it could affect other things, grants and those types of things. at this point, I guess, if the Board of Commissioners wanted to, you could carry this variance. But I think it's a better practice, as Steve said, to follow what we're expected to do and transfer this money in and pay it back when we sell the bonds.
Commissioner Jazinski.
Well, I heard the ideal thing is to make the budget amendment for costs you're going to incur. So we know we're going to incur the cost of the purchase of the property. Why don't we just add that in now so we don't have the additional budget amendment in a month, 2 months, whatever it is? Just put the money in that amendment.
My thought would be, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but I guess it depends on if you can estimate and know the dollar amount. I mean, if it's still if you're still negotiating, I would be a little hesitant to include that. Just, if you put a dollar amount in there, maybe that's, maybe the seller says, oh, well, I can get, at least get that amount. And if you're still, I don't know if you're still negotiating, and that's not my place to say, but in my mind, if once you get that dollar amount determined and it's X, then you could come back with a budget amendment to amend it up to X, and then that way it's a little more accurate rather than say, well, let's do 2X because we think it's going to be somewhere in that range. It just gives you folks, a better handle on the actual dollar amount, because as long as you do that prior to the final, really before the end of the fiscal year, you're probably fine. But if you do that, even if you get that dollar amount locked in, now we know it's X, that you amend the budget and then the dollars get dispersed at a few weeks later or however, because I know closing process takes a while. That would be my thought. But again, it's.
Yeah, I think until we have a purchase agreement, that's just making an assumption on what X is. Commissioner Horton.
I would agree with that. I think A, we don't have a signed purchase agreement yet, and B, we don't have a sum certain yet in regards to the price, because you hate to borrow money, or not borrow money, that's bad. Pull money from one account to another, and let's say this falls through. There could be a reason why this purchase agreement, after we sign it, we're going to have a sum certain on the price, but that could change. Like we had a sum certain on the price on the other one, yet we had to cancel out of that. So, Jerry, I like what you're saying. Why do we have to do it twice? But yeah, I think I could support this right now and then do another one later. That would be.
That's fine.
I guess. Yeah.
I just trying to ease the process along.
So,
Margaret, you had your hand up.
I agree with the comments. I was just going to say, doing another budget adjustment. I mean, I can see Commissioner Jazinski's of easing the process along, but I do think that doing another budget adjustment is not, it's not labor intensive, and I think that we don't price certain is the price certain. I mean, we don't have a signed purchase agreement, so I agree that we should wait and do that when we have that in hand.
I think too, just for the purpose of clarity and transparency, here's another budget amendment. It's just for the property and it's exactly this amount.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good practice.
yeah, because we'll probably still have to, in addition to the price of the property, we'll probably still have other. Good point, Tobin. I think in addition to the price of the property, there's always going to be some other stuff like title search, whatever additional costs are going to be just other than that price. So,
But it kind of keeps that
Right.
property cost separate from the total, just for clarity and transparency.
I fully, yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Commissioner Jazinski.
I'll move that we take this 2021 budget amendment to the county board work session.
I'll support that. Any more discussion on that?
No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And moving on to item 6, consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 21-5-3, resolution in support of the state of Michigan to fulfill its statutory obligations with regard to state revenue sharing payment amounts and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Want me to chat a little bit there, Commissioner?
Absolutely, the floor is yours.
Why, thank you. Oh, gosh, I like that. Thank you so much. I will just say this. I won't reread the staff report to you. I will say this. A couple things have happened information exchange wise in the last few months that I think have been a wonderful thing that's happened. So Michigan Association of Counties has instituted a county administrator controller call. So once a month we get together, whoever can make the call. You know, there's 83 counties. I believe there's 80 administrator controllers. A couple very tiny counties don't have them, particularly up in the UP, I believe. So, you know, sometimes there's 20 of us, sometimes there's 60 of us. It's a great opportunity to chat about what's happening in the state and the feds. And, you know, given the American Rescue Plan and all of those issues, it's a great time for us to get together and talk about issues. Also, the White House Intergovernmental Division has instituted a call, and I am participating in that. And it's very interesting. I appreciate, you know, they're talking about things from a national level with county officials. That's important for us to know those things and to be able to figure out how, you know, I can be a better administrator controller by having that information. This information has to do, and this is coming from the Michigan Association of Counties, this has to do with the revenue sharing. And if you remember in your budget packet, you have a graph. The one in my packet, of course, is black and white, but it kind of looks like this, and you have it too. And it is in our budget. I started adding that to my budget presentation when I first got to Isabella County, to kind of talk about the fact that, you know, we fell off the cliff with most counties in revenue sharing a number of years ago. And when that revenue sharing was reenacted and we started receiving funds, we never received the part that we lost. Now, not every municipality was in this situation. Cities didn't have this happen to them. Villages or townships, who, if they were getting revenue sharing, did not have this happen to them. It just happened to counties. And so when you look at that, and you know, we've lamented that all these years, right? I always in my budget presentation say, well, that's 1.1 million we're not going to get back. Michigan Association of Counties has decided to take this up on behalf of the counties and work with the legislation to say, hey, wait a minute. Maybe it's time that you folks rethought about paying that back, because that's kind of what we always thought was going to happen. Now, I'm not sure that I always thought that was going to happen, but if we have the opportunity or the possible chance of having that happen, I would be all support of that. So Isabella County is one of these affected counties, and you'll see that the estimated cumulative shortfall was $844,161. And looking at the, that's on this chart that was in your packet of all the counties that are affected. And then you look at the, you know, the cumulative shortfall due to the increase being discounted after our return, 1.6. Well, then you might look at the graph that we have prepared and say, Margaret, these numbers are not matching up. And I realize they're not. I'm not quite sure. I don't have an answer of why MAC's numbers do not totally match up to ours. But I would say that if we had any possibility of getting this shortfall back, whether those numbers match up or not exactly, it would be wonderful for our county and for all these other counties. So I really rarely, I'm not sure, I would say just a couple times I've approached the board and asked you to pass a resolution for us to send in on behalf of the county to our legislative leaders and to our governor. But this is a nonpartisan issue. This is an issue of what's good for counties. And I do ask and request that you would approve and authorize this resolution. I think that, you know, now if the Board of Commissioners doesn't, is Matt going to take us off the list and not include us in anything? Of course not. That's never been discussed. I don't think that would ever happen. But I can tell you and I'm sure all of you are in contact with our state rep and our state senator. I can tell you in my entire career, and I have had a good relationship with most of our, certainly our state representatives. I will have to say, you know, I can call Roger on his cell phone and he will text me and say, in session, I'll call you back. He calls me back as soon as he gets out. I'm sure he's got a lot of people calling him. But I do think that we have a good relationship as a county with our state level, state rep and state senator. And I certainly don't think that we have a black eye in the governor's mansion either. So this might be a good opportunity for the board to consider this resolution, and hoping that out of this discussion and hopefully legislative votes, counties are reimbursed what we so desperately lost in the recession.
I would say 2010 must have been an interesting year in county government. You don't usually see line graphs where the line just falls off a cliff like that.
I will tell you how interesting it was in the county I was at. We instituted furlough Fridays, and everybody, including all of the collective bargaining agreements, we put it through. People took furlough Fridays for a year, unpaid. Then we needed more. I think that people then took unpaid time off. I can't remember what amount we came down to and we negotiated, but it was a large amount. And our employees basically in that county took between about an 8% reduction in the salary because it was this. The county I was in was part of the I-69 corridor, which was so dependent on the auto industry. We laid people, we had retirements we didn't fill. I think we eliminated 35 positions in 1 year, and we had maybe 165 or so, or 70 employees, 150. It was awful, Commissioner Hope. It was a nightmare. And losing that cliff, going over that cliff, you know, I think counties really felt abandoned, frankly. And when that money came back, it did come back. It never went up. And when you look at the diagram or the graph that we have, you can see, steady. You know, if you consider what the money should be in comparison to 2010 when we went off the cliff, you know, it hasn't really increased to what it was at that point. Very, very tiny. Some, but we're still looking at 2002 figures, basically.
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Horton?
If you look at the data, yeah, I was just looking at the dates. I know former Chairperson Green was always railing about this all the time. And this was his mantra. You know, I wouldn't use the words he privately used to me, but you know, he was always saying, we never got our money back. We never got our money back. Where'd our money go? Where'd our money go? Looks like when I came on the board, we were back up to close, but not quite. I think the only board member that's currently on the board right now that would have been on the board when it was effective was Commissioner Moreno. So maybe, you know, we're interested if he has anything to add to that. But I'm just curious, Margaret, I know you weren't here and I was not around or anything. What what did Isabella County do? Did they make cuts? Did we pull out of the fund balance for that time frame? What did you mentioned what your county did. Do you know, or anybody, is there a history what Isabella County did or suffered from by this type of situation?
I do not. Yeah, I don't really know what they did. I can talk to a couple of our long-term folks who would have been here, of our department heads. They might have some memory. I'm sure they will have a memory of that, and I can chat with them and get back with you.
Yeah, because I think truly, you know, one of the, you know, in the term of law, I know this isn't a lawsuit or anything like that, but one of the cases, you always want to know what your damages are and what kind of suffering you've been harmed by this. And you can see the numbers, you can see the graphs, and you say, well, that's a shortfall. And wow, as Commissioner Hope stated, that really fell off the cliff from 1.2 down to $493,000. That's quite a, what are we going to do? We just talked about a budget adjustment in the previous talk. And what did we do to make up for that? How did we handle that? And what sacrifices did we make? Was that part of our wage and job stuff that we did? Was wages cut? Was wages frozen?
Probably.
That's, yeah, I know, looking back in history, it's always good to know where you come from to see where you're going. And this right here is a prime example of how did we get where we were? Is this a contributing factor? Obviously, if you kind of make up that kind of money, that's huge. And, you know, we're looking at everything we can because we've got, as we mentioned before, we've got the, you know, some call it 40 million, I call it $60 million project coming up. And I shouldn't say it like that. I'm sorry, take that back. But, you know, we've got to do everything we can to conserve our revenue. And, you know, if we can capture this kind of dollars back, that's, you
Huge.
know, I'm not a big proponent. I think I stated earlier in the Human Resources and Public Works Committee that I'm not a big proponent of resolutions. I'm a big pusher of resolutions. I like to keep things apolitical, especially in my role now, and bipartisan. But I think this is not only a bipartisan issue, but I think this falls right into our role as fiscal managers or fiscal responsibility as commissioners. And I think we need to do everything we can to try to recoup monies like this. I think this falls into our role of fiscal responsibility person. So I'm in favor of it. I don't know who we're going to hope Mr. Hutchinson's ready to be able to read these resolutions because we've got 3 of them in our next board meeting. So I'm just joking on that part, but no, I would be in favor of this. I mean, this, if we can somehow bring some portion, if not all of this back, that's a positive thing. So
I think there
Yes, it
are
is.
resolutions that just draw political lines where we don't need to draw them, just to make statements. I don't think those are helpful. I think that's what you're saying, Commissioner Horton. I think this particular one is in the best interest of the county.
Yep.
Commissioner Jelezinski.
I agree with all the points that were put on the floor this morning on this issue. Certainly, if we don't ask, we're not going to get anything. And having 75% of the counties behind us in this resolution, and hopefully they're all doing their own resolution, it'll cause the legislature and the governor to take notice. So I'm in favor of it.
You too. And I will make a motion then that we consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 21-05-03, resolution in support of the state of Michigan to fulfill its statutory obligations with regard to state revenue sharing payment amounts, and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
I will support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye. Okay.
I messed up. I didn't see
It's
that.
kind of messed up.
I didn't see that. Sorry.
I didn't call you on it.
No, I just noticed it myself that we have
I'm not running. Who's running this meeting, Tobin?
form discussions, right. Well, we already did. That was item 4.5.
Yeah,
Right on to item number 8.
that was my mistake. Sorry.
That's all right. Item number 8 is invoice list discussion. I see a lot of drain engineering going on. On both of the lists. It's all about drains right now.
All about drains.
Yep.
So it's always amazes me the amount, since I became a county commissioner, I shouldn't say it like this, but I grew up kind of in a metropolitan municipal larger area, raised in Swartz Creek, which is outside of Flint, lived in Lansing, lived in Metro Detroit for a decade, and then moved up here to Mount Pleasant and raising a family. Got on the board of commissioners, heard about drains, there's so much on it. But now as I drive down, I keep looking at all the side roads and all the roads and seeing how everything drains. And, especially since we had our big flood, you become real compare. Oh, that's, you kind of watch how everything was built. Even when I travel through other counties, I kind of say, oh, that's a drain. And, you kind of look at that and I find it, how it flows through and where it empties. And I'm thinking, oh boy, and I'm sure I'm going to get acquainted to it with our jail project coming up. We're going to have to hook up to a drain, get all that little flow and see all these little plans our commissioners. So it just amazes me the amount of money that's in drains, and people are assessed them and the amount of money spent. And it's like, holy moly, that's something you don't really see. You don't think about as you go through your daily life until you really deal with it. So again, that's
Right.
just a comment on it, but
Right. I've heard people say we'd be a big swamp without it. At least most of the eastern part of the county anyway.
I attend my township meetings, and we've got two of my townships that probably have the largest drain activity in the county, and that's Lincoln and Co. And I know they have to pay their assessments, and that pretty much straps the county or those townships for doing some of the other things they'd like to do. But those are ag counties or ag townships, and the drain work is absolutely necessary to raise those crops and for people to live on that land.
Margaret?
Just a little human interest story. When I was a very little girl, maybe 5, my father had our farm tiled. And back then they were the clay tiles and, the machinery, and you could kind of watch it and lay it down or whatever. And I could be sitting on a blanket, like in the field next to where they were being tiled, because I couldn't be trusted to be in the field with the heavy equipment. So I could sit on a blanket. I remember my mom would be there or whatever, and I was mesmerized by it. And then after that happened, then I think it would have been probably through the Drain Commission office, obviously. Then the heavy equipment came in to redo some of the drainage. We call it was a huge ditch, absolutely, which these other drains emptied into. But it was on our property and it separated these two big fields, and I referred to it as the creek, or the creek. And I would say to my, I'm going to go down to the creek and fish, and she'd say, yeah, okay, go do that. And it was kind of this big, I'm sure my older siblings thought I was crazy, but the man across the road, when he would go fishing, would come and throw a couple fish in there. And so he'd call me and say, I saw a fish this morning. The point was, if you left the fish there for the day, the fish wouldn't survive anyways. So when I think of drains, I coming from a farm, I understand how important they are. And my brother, who's a cattle rancher in Northwest Montana, nothing grows there that's not irrigated. And the irrigation system basically is a gravity system from the mountains. And that system was put in the 30s by the Corps of Engineers. And it's just interesting to think of all these areas, Commissioner Hope, exactly what you said. If we didn't have these systems, we would be underwater, and our agricultural communities that Commissioner Jablonski would, they just wouldn't be able to produce the crops that we need. So it is important, but it's always interesting to learn about the Drain Commission and stuff, because Commissioner Horton is, people have no idea. They just can't. They wouldn't have any experience or knowledge. So it's always interesting to me.
Yep. Other than that, I don't have any questions on the invoice list. Do you, Commissioner Jablonski? Or?
No, it seems pretty routine.
Okay. Commissioner Horton, anything?
Nope, agree with both of you.
Okay, and we don't need a motion on those, correct? That's just discussion, right? So we can move on to call.
Oh, yes, just discussion.
Yes. So Nicole, do we have any public?
We do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with no public, then we can adjourn the meeting, and it is 11:03 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Real quick, I'm looking at my schedule. I can't remember how it's going to fall. I think I'm good on this time. I don't know about the last week in May. I'll have to take a look. I think that last Tuesday in May, is that a 5 Tuesday month? I haven't looked.
I'll look.
I can do it real quick. I will not, like, again, I don't have to be on the meeting, so I'm good. But let me see here.
No, there's only 4 Tuesdays in May.
Okay, then I will, the 27th. Yeah, so either one of you two, the 27th, I will probably not be able to attend. Is that I am going to be in, hopefully, I keep my fingers crossed and my legs crossed and my toes crossed, hopefully in San Diego, California that day. So welcoming a kid that's on his 3rd deployment and haven't seen him since November and only saw him once. So we're gonna go from there. So
Wonderful.
there you have it. So just to let you guys know that on the 27th, if something, if there one of you two can't make it, though, Margaret, we're gonna probably have to look at that. I could probably attend, again, I don't want to promise anything because actually this time right now, 10 o'clock start would be 7 a.m. So, you know, that's probably a doable thing. So
What, did you say May 27th?
May 27th, yes.
That's a Thursday.
That's a Thursday.
You know what? I'm in April. Okay, no, wait a minute. Okay. I'm back to May 25th. So May 25th. May
Yeah.
I'll be
25th.
here.
Okay. Yeah, May 25th. Sorry.
Okay.
Just when I think I got technology down here, you know, as you see, I got the little cell phone here with the calendars and red, green, and red, green, and blue. You know,
I
all mean
know.
different things. Red, green, and blue all mean different things. So I want more green on my calendar. But anyway, I can't have that on.
I don't
Okay.
have any conflicts.
Okay.
I don't have any conflicts with that date with May 25th, so
Okay,
Looks
just
like
let you
we're
guys
good.
know. All right,
Yeah.
very good.
appreciate
All
it.
right, all right. So, all right, guys,
Okay,
peace out. We'll see you
Thanks.
guys. Take care. See ya.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, very much. Thank you.
thank you, Margaret.
Jim, it was good to, I think you supported the county's point of sale ordinance.
Well, Mr. Altman's still gonna get a phone call from me this week. He's on my list to call this week for sure. He'll get a little like, you know, if you're gonna bring up a county, my personal opinion, if you're gonna bring up a county matter and you're not a county official or you just should like, I haven't had my 24 hours yet, Jerry. In hockey, hockey coaching, you always want to give a 24-hour rule before you respond. So
Well,
I
think you were still on, so we talked about it quite a while, and I guess we ended the conversation to agree to disagree.
yeah, and that's what I try to say. I said I agree with 99% of, you know, I gave him a high number. I agree with 99%, but this is the 1% that I'm going to have to call him out on this one. And, you know, so I'll talk to him. I mean, I'll give him a call. I don't think I'll change his mind any, but so long as, you know, we're one of his counties and we put a lot of time and effort into this and to poo-poo it, I think is wrong. You know, I say, there you go. I said something I shouldn't have. Stop. Take it back. I took it back. Haven't had my 24 hours yet, but I think it needs to, I'll address it with him. So we'll go from there.
All right. See you Tuesday.
See you
All right,
guys.
guys. Take care.